closed captioning provided by Beaufort County.
Welcome, everyone. Today's Tuesday, August 11th. We'll call this meeting to order. We'll start with a pledge, followed by the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray. Most merciful and heavenly Father, thank you now for all that you're doing. Father, as that you continue to bless us and bless this meeting, Father, give us peace, give us your wisdom, and Father, most of all, give us your grace, peace, and all that blessings in Son Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.
Okay, up first we have the adoption of minutes. Are there any changes? Motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Next, we have presentation celebrations and recognitions, starting with the Beaufort County School District Character Student of the Month, followed by USC Sand Shark Welcome Week proclamation, and a presentation on our block camera presentation by Chief Joe. Okay, up now we have Ms. Bella Casper. She's a second grade student from Richardville Elementary School. Character traits of responsibility and cooperation. Do you have any family or teachers who are? So your parents? Do you have anybody from the school that's going to tell us how great she is? We can look at her. She's great. Well, one of you guys want to say something about her? I'm sure you're proud of
Best student ever.
She worked very hard. He just retired from the Marine Corps last year. She has been through a lot, and she works very hard. She's very proud of having made the Ames class for third grade, and so we're very proud of her for having been awarded the Character Award of all things.
That's the most important. Okay. We'll get a picture.
All right, ready?
You can go.
All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
You really have to. Do we have anybody from Sand Sharks here? Oh, okay. You want to come up? This is Danielle. Ms. Lopez is a senior biology major from Milton Head Island and president of the Student Government Association. So tell us a little bit about, oh, I gotta read this. So you want us to tell them what this is all about?
So this is just recognizing that we're starting our welcome week at UCB. So that's orientation and a bunch of activities we have planned for the new students. So it's really good to have this recognition and the support from the town of Bluffton. So thank you.
Great. So this is kind of long, but I'll read it. Whereas the University of South Carolina Beaufort is a fully accredited comprehensive baccalaureate institution with the University of South Carolina system. And whereas USCB provides specialized instructions in 19 undergraduate degree and 2 graduate degree programs to fulfill its mission to respond to regional needs, draw upon regional strengths, and prepare graduates to contribute locally, nationally, and internationally. And whereas USCB is a primary source for exceptionally skilled healthcare professionals, teachers, hospitality managers, science-based researchers, and specialists in South Carolina and Low Country. And whereas USCB is a prominent regional catalyst for progress and as an engine for cultural and economic growth. And whereas USCB regional economic impact is in excess of 1,230 jobs, 63 million in labor income, and 141 million in economic development. And whereas USCB welcomes more than 2,200 students, their parents, other family members, and friends to campuses in Bluffton, Beaufort, and on Hilton Head. And to athletic facilities in Hardyville for the start of the 26-27 academic year. Now, therefore, Mayor Larry Timmerlow, Bluffton Town Council, do hereby proclaim the meeting of August 17th through 21st, 2026 as USCB Sand Shark Welcome Week.
Chief, you're up, sir.
Well, good evening, Mayor and Council, and thank you for having me here today to speak about the Block Safety Camera Program here in the town of Bluffton. It's a concern, there's some concerns that are growing nationwide, and I just appreciate this opportunity to come on out and talk to you guys about how we're utilizing the system and the oversight that we have on our officers to make sure that's not being misused. To start with over a brief executive summary, we implemented a three-phase block camera system several years ago. Phase 1 was authorized. The spending cost was $163,500 with an annual recurring cost of $74,500. This focused on covering all the entrances and exits into our town. So we want to know if people are coming into our town that were wanted or stolen vehicles or things like that. And so our first phase was just covering the entrances and exits. Phases 2 and 3 was $199,500 with a recurring cost of $90,000. This actually expanded the coverage internally all on our main roadways and main corridors going through the town of Bluffton. That was funded through the grant, a IT grant that we received from federal funding, and it was recently completed. So, quick timeline, the milestones. In 2019 and 2020, a program was first identified for the town strategic plan. In 2024, Youth and Town Council approved 2025 budget, including phase 1. September 2024, phase 1 contract was authorized. In 2024, we completed a policy of approval. So we actually had a policy in place before we got any of our cameras first installed. And that was coordinated and approved through our law enforcement citizens advisory committee. In January 8th of 2025, we got the first 4 cameras. In July 2025, phase 1 was about 90%. To date, we have phase 2 and phase 3 installation at 90% complete, which once again was grant funded. So just a brief financial commitment for phase 1, and then phase 2 and 3 financial commitment as well. So the cameras, there's a little information on the cameras. They provide certain types of technology. We have developed LPR cameras, which are known as what we know as license plate readers. They provide I guess you could say, a fingerprint to vehicles. They take pictures of the back of the vehicle as well as the license plate, and that's all the information that we get from that vehicle. It takes key descriptors. Oftentimes when our officers go to the scene, let's say it's a scene of a robbery or something like that, the witness does not know the license plate of the suspect vehicle that way. Oftentimes we'll get a green car with a blue bumper sticker. This system allows us to search for a blue car, a green car with a blue bumper sticker. And then it will come up, and when it comes up, all it shows is the license plate. The officers then have to take that license plate, search it through DMV files to find out who the owner is, and then they conduct their follow-up investigation through that. We also have condor cameras, 140 live cameras, mostly in the downtown area. We're able to convert those into the flock camera system. We can't search through them through flock. It just allows us to view them so that we don't have to go from one system to the other.
Chief, that was the presentation, but I want to ask you before you move on. In the middle of the condor basically says storage up to 30 days. You want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Yes, sir. And I'll get to that in a little bit to answer your question, sir. The state of South Carolina allows us to store information up to 90 days. We selected 30 days for search. Once that 30 days is up, that information is deleted from the cloud. And we cannot access it, and you can fly.
Is that the case for the Bluffton cameras as well?
Yes, ma'am. Yes. We have a 30-day limit on both the Falcon cameras and the Congo cameras, as well as the Congo cameras. This is a map of the camera locations that we placed. You can see you are not getting into the town of Bluffton without going through those cameras. You also see that it's kind of hard to see downtown unless I zoomed in more, but they are spaced out. We have to go in both directions, which is why it looks like some of them, like if you look over by the traffic circle on 170 and 46, it looks like there's live cameras, but it's to capture in and out of Bluffton. So then a little bit about the three-phase deployment, which we've already talked about. Phase 1 was perimeter coverage. Phase 2 was internal roadways. Then phase 3, we identified certain gaps on our main roadways that we needed to add additional cameras on. Those are the three phases. So a little bit about how the system works. Officers can search by vehicle description, whether the color, bumper stickers, or decals across the entire camera network. We get a time and location-based search identifies vehicles at specific places and times. It does not follow them once they go through the camera. We do not know if that car turned right, turned left, or went straight. We have real-time NCIC alerts that notify officers if their stable or walking vehicle passes cameras. So if a stolen vehicle comes to our town, an alert is sent to all of our officers, and it just tells us what camera that vehicle just passed. Our officers then have to come to the area and try to locate that vehicle. And we'll get a little bit into the rules in our policy, but a mirror kit on a flock camera does not give our officers the right to stop the vehicle. They have to have some other reason. For example, if it is a stolen vehicle and they locate the stolen vehicle, they then check through it, dispatch, check through NCIC to verify that that vehicle is living. And they have to do that before they stop that vehicle. And then all that is automatically deleted after 30 days. South Carolina has a 90-day protection, but we put it down for 30 days. It also allows us to do some community integration and partnerships with some of our local HOAs. The system allows us to view those established neighborhood cameras. Right now, Palmetto Point, Pine Ridge, and the Lakeside and Riverside have these cameras. When we do have something that occurs in one of those neighborhoods, we seek permission from them in order for us to access those cameras. It does expand our investigative tools without additional hardware or cost.
I'm sorry, do you mind going back? I have my question on the third bullet point of this. So other law enforcement agencies can view border cameras.
They can, so the way it works is yes, they can, law enforcement agencies that have a flock system, they can search, or if they put in a license plate and it's a wanted suspect or something that goes through one of our cameras, it's going to notify them that, hey, this vehicle you're looking for that's associated with this homicide just went through Bluffton. It'll also send us an alert as well.
So that would be like Beaver County or SLED or federal.
Yes, ma'am. No federal agencies will be sent with the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
And then do they have the ability to keep the data over the 30 days?
They do not, because we own that data. What they would have to do is they would have to request a copy from us. We would download it and send it to them. They could use it.
pressure right now standing next to you.
Mayor and Council, let me just say that during the initial parts of this block, our office worked with Chief, went through the contract fairly extensively. We felt that the 30 days, just as Chief felt the 30 days was more than adequate, there's been some litigation nationwide, privacy concerns. So we went far less than what the state limit was for that reason. And I think it's been working fairly well, Chief, as far as we can tell.
Yes, it's been very good. And we'll go over, once we get this back up, we're gonna talk about what the system does and does not do. So I know that there's a lot of information being pushed out there that may be inaccurate. And so I just want to provide you guys exactly what the system does and how we use it as a tool.
While she's doing that, can I ask a question about the retention period of 30 days? If that ever was to be increased, would that require town council approval? You know?
I think our contract was locked now at the 30 days. We have to probably amend that, and if council wanted Chief to come back and give approval, then more than happy to.
I'm just, for future, I'm just.
I would have no problem coming to the council. I'll tell you, typically, we keep it at 30 days because typically an investigation for someone, when they're looking into a case, it's not going to go past that 30-day mark. By a suspect. Anything less, we may, we're a little bit concerned about, as we speak with witnesses, we may get another description of a vehicle that, could take us beyond that 30-day point. And so I think 30 days is a good time for us.
Chief,
Yes, sir.
you said that other agencies can have access to our cameras. Do we have access to our agency cameras as well?
Yes, sir, we do. And to give you an example of that, and I'll go over some of our successes, Fort Wentworth, about 6 months ago, had a shooting into a crowd, and I think three or four people were severely injured. And they immediately put their vehicle, the suspect vehicle, into what they call a custom list. And if you share cameras with them, then if that vehicle goes through your system, it's going to send you an alert. And sure enough, about an hour after the shooting, it did come through our system. It was driving into town, and our officers were able to locate the vehicle, find a reason to stop the vehicle, and they got the suspect and the murder weapon out of the vehicle, and he was later extradited. So what does the system not do? It does not have facial recognition. I understand that there's some confusion on that. We do not identify people, gender, sex, race, or anything like that. It takes a picture of the back of the vehicle and then the license plate. Unless somebody's sticking their face up in their rear window, we're not going to be able to identify anybody that's in that vehicle. It does not capture names, phone numbers, or addresses. It does not capture anything to do with cell phones whatsoever. It cannot track vehicles from point A to point B. Like I said, it's a fixed location and a fixed time, and it's a brief snapshot of that vehicle going through. And it also, Block has a very strict policy. It prohibits the use of immigration enforcement, traffic enforcement, harassment, and also personal use.
The next one says cannot track from point A to point B, but we have several flock cameras throughout the town. So why wouldn't they communicate with each other?
They do, sir. So we ran a plate, and if it went through one camera and then another camera, we'd be able to see that. But if a vehicle goes through one of our cameras and there's a mile width of roadway, it can turn right or left. We don't know where they turn. It just puts us in the area. When we receive an alert, it just puts us in the area.
Basically just puts that car there at that particular time.
Yes, sir. It froze up again. Oh, wait. No, there it is. What am I doing wrong? Okay. So some frequently asked questions. Where are the cameras located? We already went over that with phase 1, 2, and 3. How long is the footage stored? Again, 30 days. Who can access the footage? Only authorized personnel. And our information belongs to the town of Bluffton. And so we put our officers through training on the flock system. We make them obviously sign their policy, and then they are allowed to use it after some extensive training. Can cameras identify me personally? No, they cannot. They do not have facial recognition. Can cameras be used for traffic tickets? No, we do not use them for traffic tickets. We cannot tell you if you ran a stop sign. We cannot tell you how fast you were going. They are not used for traffic. And then what happens when a stolen car passes the camera? Again, our officers get an alert, and they respond to the area, and hopefully they find the vehicle. Just some stats for us. This is our first full year that we've utilized and had the system in place. So we've had 52 successes. 38 are cleared by arrests. 6 warrants were issued. Those are usually our investigators. Several cases that they've taken where they utilize the flock system in one way or another. Cleared by other means is really what I want to focus on. Is we've had 8. What that means is if we've had a missing person or somebody with mental health issues going through distress, we've been able to utilize our flock camera system to put us in the area where the last place that they left or they were seen leaving, and we've been able to locate 8 people over the past year. These are 8 people that we've been able to get medical attention to. One most recently, somebody was suffering from dementia, and they were lost. It was actually out of Ridgeland. They put the vehicle into the flock camera system. We got an alert when she came into town, right by the traffic circle, and our officers found her over in front of Palmetto Bluff, entrance to Palmetto Bluff, and they were able to get her spotted. So we use them more than just for fighting crime. We use them to help people as well. So some of the successes, I won't go through every single one. I already spoke about the Fort Wentworth situation. But as you can see, a lot of them involved double homicide out in Hilton Head. I think you guys remember that not too long ago. Gentleman went out to Hilton Head and shot his ex-wife and her boyfriend, and he came back towards our location. And as soon as he came into our town, we received an alert because BCSO, Beaufort County Sheriff's Office, put that vehicle into the system. We were able to quickly locate him. We surrounded his house, and unfortunately, we were able to save somebody who was in the house with him, but he ended up taking his own life. But the plan was for him to pack up his belongings and head back up north to where it would have been very, very difficult to catch him. So a little bit about the courts and what they're saying, because we've seen a lot of concerns about violation of Fourth Amendment rights and what does it mean. Well, we've done our research, and U.S. versus Ellison said there's no reasonable expectation of privacy on a public roadway. As well as Porter, the Fifth Circuit found that ALPRs, they don't obtain vehicle location information on public roads, or it did not constitute a violation of the Fourth Amendment, specifically because it's not continuously following somebody. Now, if we were doing a drug investigation and we stick a GPS underneath the vehicle, we want to get exactly where that person's going 24/7. We would need a search warrant for that. These do not need a search warrant because we're not continuously tracking them 24/7. There's also a case that I do want to talk about, Schmidt versus City of Norfolk, and that was a district court granted summary judgment and rejected plaintiff's Fourth Amendment violation. This is currently on appeal in the Fourth Circuit. It's very important to us because we fall underneath the Fourth Circuit. So we're paying attention to that. The good news is that if there's any decision made about the flock cameras, we have a partnership with Lexipol. And whenever there's a court case that may change policy, there we go again. Whenever we have a court case that may change policy, they will send us that change and then policy and revamp our operations and how we do things. I'm just so we've heard all over the news that there's been some misuse of flock cameras across the country, as close as Savannah. Several misuses here. State of South Carolina. All I can say is that these individuals are being held accountable, and I think all of them were, or they've been referred to SLED or Georgia Bureau of Investigation for criminal investigation, and we will be no different. However, we have some policy and safeguards in place. As I mentioned before, we have a policy reviewed and approved by the Law Enforcement Citizens Advisory Committee. It's also reviewed by CALEA, the Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies, and they actually recognized our policy because we do something that 98% of agencies in the country do not do, which is we do a quarterly audit with citizens. We have citizens doing our quarterly audits for us. This way here, it does not give the disguise of, maybe the police department's covering for the police department. We actually have a board of seven citizens that sit up. I send them all the plates that were run for the month, and they identify if there's any issues or anything that looked like whether a case number wasn't put in or a reason for running the plate was put in. They will identify those. To date, we have not had any issues, and all quarters have been passed. And I do have Bill O'Toole here from the Law Enforcement Citizens Advisory Committee, just to kind of refer that. We're also, Flock Camera just came out with an AI audit assistance tool, which we currently just downloaded into our system. And what that is it detects irregular searches. And so if an officer searches let's say they type in a license plate 3 days in a row, it's going to send me an alert, and it's going to send our professional standards captain an alert, and we're immediately going to look into that. You see some of these cases across the country where officers have searched their boyfriend or girlfriend's vehicle over 146 times in a 2-week time period. This prevents that. This allows us to be proactive if we see any type of irregular activity on the system. Every search also requires a documented case and reason, creating complete audit trail. And then once again, we have our Civilian Oversight Committee. I had the opportunity to meet with chiefs from across the country recently when we went out to Omaha. And again, we were the only ones that had civilian oversight. And a lot of the chiefs are going to bring that back to their towns and implement that as well. Talking about that, we also want to talk about transparency. Last night I had our first community meeting to go over our strategic plan, and I was able to speak with one person who specifically said she's concerned about Flock because it almost seems like you guys are hiding something. Some transparency would be nice. Well, we spoke with Flock today, and we're working on a transparency portal where people will have access to certain information, and they'll be able to see how many times our officers have searched the vehicle or searched for a license plate, or how many hot lists. And let me explain hot list. Hot list is if a vehicle is listed as stolen and we get an alert, that's considered on the hot list. So it's going to show us how many times we got alerts on that. And so the community will be able to see that. We'll also put our successes on there. We're working on that. We're hoping to have that in place over the next couple of months. So final is the impact of the community. We talk about crime prevention and what it does. And what I've done is I've compared 2024 to 2026. You know that we've been voted one of the safest communities in the state of South Carolina for the past 5 years. So our violent crime has always been relatively low. But you can see just from 2024 when we didn't have these cameras to now, we almost seen an 83% decrease in robberies. We've seen a 26% decrease in aggravated assaults, 100% decrease in forcible rapes, although that number was low, and knock on wood, 100% decrease in murder. Where we really see the impact as well is in our property crimes. Our larceny thefts from 164 down to 84. That's almost a 50% decrease in 1 year. Motor vehicle thefts, 14 down to 4. That's 71% decrease in a year. And then vandalism has dropped, not as much as we wanted to, but you're still looking at a 28% decrease in property crime. Any questions?
We'll start with Council, Ms. Frazier.
No questions, just some comments. One, thank you, Chief, for the presentation. I think the main thing you addressed that a lot of people had hesitations about was transparency. And that was going to be a question I asked, but seeing that the Law Enforcement Advisory Committee is doing audits, I think that's great. A concern that I do have, and I've heard from a lot of citizens with similar concerns, is where the transparency even though there's a protocol in place for it, we know that sometimes there are always exceptions. And Flock says, for instance, that the system is not set up to allow those to do things like track people for immigration purposes and other things. But there have been audits in other municipalities that show that the exact opposite was happening, where they were able, through the audit, to be able to flag searches that some people were doing, tracking individuals and sharing that information with other agencies. So I think that while growing issues like that are going to come up, I think keeping the transparency in terms of how we are operating and using that is going to be paramount, because I don't think anyone wants to feel like they are being in a city where it's like a hyper surveillance and information they're not aware of. And outside of the advisory committee, like, do we have a separate audit that takes place? Like, do you do your own internal audit aside from that?
Yes, ma'am. We have our professional standards captain doing the audit, and then we also send it to the Law Enforcement Citizens Advisory Committee. We don't change a thing. If we notice a discrepancy, we will let the Law Enforcement Citizens Advisory Committee know of our concerns, and then they will also review it.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Wood?
Well, pretty much ditto her sentiments, express mine. I want to just say also I commend you for your transparency on the topic. Also, the fact that we have the law enforcement, the civilian portion of it, I think is a good thing to keep them engaged, and they certainly need to stay on top of it. And finally, just the other thing is, you touched on this, is I would be greatly concerned if we were going outside the realms of town beyond the FBI to help other agencies do anything. I would like to think you would come forward to town council and inform us and let us have a say in that matter.
Yes, sir. One thing we're going to do with the transparency portal is any changes that we make or that are coming, we will also put on that to let our community know about it as well. That's one option that we could provide.
Mr. Hamilton?
Thanks for the presentation, Chief. As often as you can in different communities, I'd like for you to do the same presentation so that the community hears the good, the bad, the ugly, whatever. And I don't think you should be in a place where you're defending it, but information is important everywhere in every aspect. So just providing information is important for our community.
Yes, sir.
I agree with everything that's been said. I commend you for this presentation. It was very informative. I'd love to get this out so others can see it and hear. My concerns were over privacy and how the data is collected and shared, and transparency, and I think you answered a lot of those questions. I had a list of questions. All of them you answered in your presentation except for one. And so that was the only thing that I want to just find out. What happens if the flock camera misreads a license plate and an incorrect one comes up?
So that's a great question, and that's why we have in our policy that officers need to have a different reason to stop that vehicle. In other words, they can't stop the vehicle based upon the hit, because there are mistakes, and if something hasn't been cleared out of flock, and there may be a false hit. So if our officer gets a hit for, say, the owner of the vehicle is wanted, then they have to get behind that vehicle, and if they don't have another reason for the stop, whether the person's speeding or he ran a red light or something like that, then they don't stop the car. They have to have a secondary reason to stop.
So let's say there is a misread hit, and let's say it's for somebody that's wanted for a homicide or something, a significant crime, and they catch him for speeding and they pull him up over. Would they walk up, like, guns drawn to the car, or would they, like, how does that play out in real time?
Depending on the circumstances, it's possible. If it's let's say the person is wanted for murder, typically what they would do, the officers would do, they would verify through NCIC first that the person that owns the vehicle is wanted before they stop the vehicle. And they also would wait for other officers to get in the area to make that traffic stop anyway. So while they're doing that, they're confirming that the registered owner of that vehicle is in fact wanted, at which point they may do what we call a felony traffic stop, which is call the person out of the vehicle and have them walk back towards them.
And then if it's a misread license plate, I mean, if it was the wrong license plate, it seems like there sometimes like a 1 or 7 gets read from the research I've done, then it,
Yeah, I can't comment on that because I don't know of the time that we have, that has happened, but it can. But again, that's when the officers have to get behind the vehicle, run the plate, run the owner of the vehicle, to make sure everything is accurate. Because there could be misreads as well. So we do have checks and balances for misreads and information that's old that maybe was not taken out of the system. All that is really what these cameras do is they put our officers in a position or in a location to take some type of traffic enforcement, but they don't take that traffic enforcement until there's verification.
thank you.
I just want to say thank you, Chief. It makes me proud to know that we have other municipalities and areas that are reaching out to us wanting our policies so that they can change theirs and be more efficient and more transparent. Again, it's just the vision. We're very proud that you take all this to heart and do what's right. There'll always be a certain segment of our population that thinks that all cops are bad and that you're doing what you're doing just so that you can get the advantage of someone by following them or whatever. But there are bad people in all aspects of walks of life, from mayors to police chiefs to town managers to plumbers and electricians and fishermen and everything else. So I would just encourage policy to be that if you do find one of your people, our people, that are violating the rules and the protocol, to not take it lightly and set an example right off the bat. So.
Yes, sir. We just had a all-hands meeting, and we went over this discussion again and the policy again. And the exact words I said to them is that if you mistreat this, you use it outside of the scope, then you will be terminated and you will be referred to SLED for investigation.
Thank you very much. Anything else from council?
Good job.
Great job. Thank you. Okay, up next we have public comment. Please listen to the rules. What rules? We don't have any rules. Just be nice.
During public comment, each speaker is limited to a total of 3 minutes per meeting, regardless of whether the person is speaking on their own behalf or as an agent for others. Meeting attendees may not donate, transfer, yield, or give all or any portion of their speaking time to another person. All public comments are to be conducted from the podium and directed to the town council as a whole and not to any member thereof. All speakers shall be mindful and respectful of those participating in or present at the meeting. Speakers shall be expected to be civil in their language and shall refrain from comment or behavior that involves disorderly speech or action, name-calling, personal attacks, threats, obscene or indecent remarks, and/or disruptive actions. All speakers shall confine their comments to issues under the jurisdiction of the town council. Speakers shall not use the public comment period to promote or advertise awards, businesses, services, goods, or candidates for public office. Any speaker that violates these rules and protocols for public comment may be ruled out of order by the presiding officer. Any person whose comments have been ruled out of order shall immediately cease and desist from further improper comments. The refusal of an individual to desist from further improper comments may subject the individual to removal from the meeting and/or a citation under Section 2-49 of the Town Code.
Up first, we'll have Ms. Cheryl Rodriguez. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, council members, for giving me a few minutes to speak.
And I will say, please talk into the mic because
sorry. Is that better? Okay.
Louder the better.
Okay. I just wanted to take a moment to praise the events planning team with the town of Bluffton. As we all know, they do an amazing job putting together events and memories that bring our community together. What you may not be aware of is that the number of families with children with special needs in the area has increased significantly. And these families and kids have the same desires and needs of being engaged, having friends, and social opportunities that we all do. But the challenges associated with special needs are diverse and can make engaging outside of the home overwhelming, often leading to feelings of isolation for both our kids and their families. I just want you to know that as soon as these challenges were brought to the attention of the event planners, they immediately went to work on finding ways to make our special needs community know that they are seen and valued as a part of the Bluffton community. The very next town event, they organized increased special needs parking, and they created sensory bags with fidgets and earphones for families to borrow if they needed them at a Bluffton town event. And then they started planning events. On August 1st, the town of Bluffton hosted a glow dance for our teens and young adults with special needs to socialize, get to know one another, and have a teen experience where they could be fully involved. The parents were pampered. The community businesses kicked in to help provide food, music, photo memories, drinks, non-alcoholic, and parent massages. Over 20 local teens and several adults volunteered to help. And the entire thing was envisioned, organized, and executed by the town of Bluffton event planners. And it was truly a magical event that was so very appreciated. And they have already started planning more activities. So on behalf of the special needs community and general Bluffton community, which includes everyone, thank you for being a model for other communities to follow. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, up next we have Patty Ball. Patty? Patty? B-A-T-T-E? So she's not here, I guess? Maria Walsh? I didn't say it too loud. Come on up and please state your name and address, please.
My name is Marie Kowalchuk. I live at 161 Pinecrest Circle, and I'm representing the owners of Pinecrest. We are most grateful that the Town Council supports us in our opposition to the potential build of 360 rental units and any other type of possible development on the golf course that borders all our single-family homes. My husband and I have lived in Pinecrest for over 10 years, and at that time it was refreshing to see manageable traffic throughout the area, and most specifically on Bluffton Parkway. That was before Hilton Head Christian Academy was built and traffic increased considerably, and a traffic light was added at the corner of Masters Way to control entry and exiting to Hilton Head Christian Academy. Since that build-out, and as a result of additional building on Buckwalter, the infrastructure bordering our community is being challenged daily, but most especially during school hours. Many parents and students attempt to use Pinecrest to reach McCracken as they drop off and pick up children daily. They come through our neighborhood. And as we do our best to have our security people minimize that traffic daily, but it is unavoidable. The potential of having over 300 rental units built on the existing driving range will certainly be a safety hazard for all children going to Bluffton Early Learning, the Bluffton Early Learning Center, Bluffton Elementary, McCracken, Bluffton High School, and the Hilton Head Christian Academy. Any type of development, such as a roomed auditorium, a parking lot, and/or sports fields, puts the safety of all at risk. The sheer volume of traffic has the potential to double auto traffic in the mornings, and as many of our community leave for work and school. We are putting not only our community at risk of traffic accidents, but all the surrounding communities of Hampton Hall, Shell Hall, and now Indigo Cove. Additional renting housing has been built in the area since this was first proposed, and I know some are offering free first month rent as an incentive, which is an indication that there are more opportunities for workforce housing than there are people to rent. We may soon have a glut of rental units nearby. Another reason the development of the driving range is not needed. More, for example, is being built on Simmonsville and Buck Island, which is now under construction. We thank you for your continued opposition to any build-out on our driving range or any part of the golf course, so that all our children attending the 5 schools abutting our community can continue to walk, bike, or be driven to school safely. Thank you for your continued opposition.
Thank you. Chris Campbell.
My name is Chris Campbell. I am the chairman of Keep Beaufort County Beautiful, and thank you for allowing me to come here and speak to you all. I live in the northern part of the county, too. You asked
Where'd you live?
I live up in Sheldon, northern part of the county, and I drove all the way down here, which is not too bad, to speak to you today, this evening. We've done a lot of work on the plastics, single-use, the styrofoam that I'm sure, and you're getting ready to talk about it in a few minutes. I really would like to ask you for your support on, pay close attention to what we're talking about, because it's certainly a problem, and it's not getting any better. We do a lot of litter work with Keep Beaufort County Beautiful, and we're finding that none of that's getting any better either. It's just costing more money every year. It's very important that we move forward on something to slow down things that are not good for our environment. And I can assure you, these things are not good for our environment. I appreciate you letting me speak, and I trust your opinions, and I appreciate what you do. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Mr. Bob.
Mr. Mayor, excuse me one second. Can I get a point of privilege real quick?
You go right ahead, sir.
Mr. Campbell? Yes, sir. Leave your phone number with staff, please. I've been trying to find you for the last few weeks, and I'll tell you why when I get your phone number, and I'll call you. Thank you.
Name and address, sir.
Good evening. Bob Cremian. I'm in 17 Norris Avenue. First, thank you for letting me speak today. I spoke at the last meeting to update you about the Beaufort County update to plastic ordinance, and now it's on the agenda. So this is mostly just a thank you for really expediting this process and making sure that is a discussion point for you all. Also, while I was waiting, I couldn't help but notice the covenant for the town of Bluffton. Part of it says, we bear responsibility for the stewardship of nature's blessings. This is a direct way to help do that. So just want to say thank you, and I'm looking forward to a good discussion. So thank you.
Thank you. Up next we have Mr. John Acker.
John Acker, 147 Station Parkway. Mayor and Council.
Microphone, please, sir.
Mayor and Council, thank y'all for letting me come speak tonight. Chief, thank you for that lovely presentation. And I echo what Ms. Burden said. You answered all my questions. The flock cameras, I don't see it as an invasion of privacy. I see it as another helpful tool in the law enforcement officer's belt to keep us safe here. I've had many discussions with people in the town and friends and family. Your phone knows where you go all the time. If you walk around in Walmart or Sam's Club, you're on camera. These aren't going to be used to intrude on people's private lives. They're going to be used to protect the public. And I think it's a really great thing. And I'm real proud that we're getting national recognition as being one of the few law enforcement agencies that has this citizen advisory panel. Government functions well when the citizens of this town are coming to meetings like this to speak and can oversee what law enforcement's doing, and I'm proud that we're doing that. So thank you for supporting the flock cameras and implementing them in the town of Bluffton.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to have Kaylee Turkowski. Did I get it right?
Yes, thank you.
Just name and address for the record.
Kaylee Turkowski, 159 Lake Linden Drive. Hi, everyone. Thank you for letting me talk. Thank you, Chief, for your presentation. I have had a very healthy relationship with law enforcement, which makes this whole flock camera situation a little difficult. As a private citizen, I am able to opt out of data sharing online, data sharing cookies, and opt out of my Arlo camera sharing video footage to train AI models. I am able to opt out of location services on my phone, computer, and apps. I am able to opt out of having a cell phone, a computer, or private security altogether. A warrant is also necessary for police to obtain before getting access to my cell phone, computer, or private security data. The same does not go for flock cameras. The police do not need a warrant to obtain flock data. I am not able to opt out of my data being stored by flock, and I am not able to opt out of flock using my movements to train and advanced artificial intelligence models. I am not able to opt out of 24/7 tracking whenever I pass a camera, surveilling, or data building of the flock system. Police are not the first to receive flock data. Every time you pass a flock camera, your data goes through a flock server. That server then uses AI to alert police about the situation. That means artificial intelligence is being used to help police private citizens. If police do not get flagged data from the AI flock server, they must manually type in searches for specific license plates or vehicle description. We have already begun to see how the system is being abused by both police officers, anyone who obtains the flock login, or AI falsely alerting police altogether. People say if you have nothing to hide, there should be nothing to worry about. I don't know if anybody remembers COVID, social distancing, masks, and extreme government pressure to get vaccinated. All it takes is one situation for what is safe to change how you're allowed to act in public. That alone should make everyone fearful for the digital surveillance prison everyone stands so strongly behind. Not only is it extremely unconstitutional to be able to surveil and submit a warrantless search on a law-abiding citizen, it is terrifying to be training AI models and using AI to police private citizens. Again, thank you. My name is Kaylee Turkowski. I'm very against flock cameras.
Thank you. Next we have Ms. Joni Hayward.
So I don't want to break the chain of the beautiful thank yous that people have given you all tonight. So I'm going to thank you too for the Stantec survey and for bringing this item of contributing resources to the agenda tonight. I'm Joni Hayward, and I live at 95 Boundary Street, and I'm addressing the contributing resources. So on behalf of the foundation, the Historic Bluffton Foundation, let me thank you and staff for including this item for consideration in today's agenda. As you know, the Bluffton Historic District is the heart of the Bluffton heritage. With the increase of tourists and new residents, the identification of our contributing structures needs to be clear, concise, and yet reflect our true history. So in reading and studying your agenda packet for tonight, I have some observations and requests. Included in your packet is a list of our historic structures with their current name and the proposed historic name. On another list, which was not included in your packet, used in preparation of the list, there is a column titled Proposed Name for Coverage. That's really what I'm here about. So my requests are three. Number one, include the proposed names for signage coverage with corrections and on the CR list you're approving tonight. And number two, the Haywood House. I think everybody knows which structure the Haywood House is. It's number 39 on the list. And while I know that John J. Cole built this structure back in 1840 or so, it has been known as the Haywood House for many years. It was listed on the 1996 application as Haywood House. The Haywood House is also mentioned on page 41 of the Stantec survey. The Haywoods have lived in this house continuously since 1882 until Margaret Haywood sold it to the BHPS in 1998. And at that time, I can hear Margaret right now saying, "This house shall ever be called the Haywood House." So I request that the proposed signage read the Haywood House. And my number 3 request is back to the proposed name for signage list. There are some 7 or 8 listings that begin with site of. Well, except for one, the Bluffton Oyster Factory being that one, there is no contributing structure on that site. And for that reason, we feel that it should not be recognized. While at the oyster factory is there. So I thank you for your consideration. I hope we can work together and bring this to resolution. And thank you for all you do for us.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. Okay, up next we have Ms. Lisa Salk. Name and address, please, ma'am.
Good, I'm not either. Lisa Sulka, 37 Stock Farm Road. I'm going to do 2 things. I'm off a little bit. Chief, thank you for that presentation. It was very informative. As all of us, we've been watching social media, and we do look at the comments, and it showed me tonight that y'all are above that. You set the standard. We just won the Meritorious Award, which is amazing, and we've been CALEA accredited for 17 years. I have no doubt with your citizen advisory group and your class act of a police department that we will continue to set the standard. Okay, so thank you. Thank y'all for allowing me to give input on the agenda item relating to historic resource renaming. I sit on HPC, and our commission last week was given a very brief overview of this item that's before you tonight, referencing that the entire list would be included in the council meeting packet. So based on the packet are my requests for you to consider. Stantec did a fabulous job, and I want to talk about them in just a minute. But I compared the list from Stantec to the letter from Historic Bluffton Foundation to the document that's in front of you tonight. I have a couple of suggestions if you'll listen to them. First, bring Historic Bluffton Foundation to the table to make suggestions on the renaming and to also proofread each name for accuracy. Number 2, I understand why the homes that have been demolished or moved need to add the wording to include site of. But in the case of Oyster Factory, I'd ask you to take site of off the naming and go with HBS recommendation of Bluffton Oyster Factory. Number 3, there were several typos, and I re-looked at this before I came in, and I found 3 more, so these are not inclusive. Melly Champ on item 54 on your packet should be Mellichamp. Peebles Store and Peebles Barn has a B. It should be People's Store and People's Barn. Items 3, 4, 5, and 25, Gerard Street's misspelled. So, number 4, the Garvey House should never lose the Garvey name, and I would suggest using what Stantec suggested, the Cyrus Garvey House. The 2025 Stantec survey is probably the best one I've read. It was thorough. Thank you, Glenn, for contracting that out. One of the areas in the survey update were recommendations for future preservation planning efforts, and I would urge council to follow these easy planning efforts, specifically on 2 and 4 of the 5 call to action items. And I'll read the first paragraph quickly. Since the late 1980s, Bluffton has experienced a surge of development and physical growth. While the town has retained many of its historic resources, they remain at risk due to the development pressure. There are 2 areas I really urge you to look at. One is number 4, prioritize the local historic preservation grants to resources associated with Bluffton's Black history. The survey observed that many resources historically associated with the Black community are in poor condition or have been highly altered and would benefit from grant assistance. And then the second one was individual local landmark designation as opposed to designation as contributing to the local historic district. And it all goes back to protecting our area and our historic district. And thank you for all you do. And that's it.
Thank you, Ms. Sullivan. Up next, we have Jen Somerville.
Jen Somerville. I live at 86 White Oak Circle, but I'm here tonight representing the Historic Bluffton Foundation. I'm the executive director there now. And just to compound on what Ms. Lisa and Joni spoke about with the contributing resource list, the Historic Bluffton Foundation has signage in place around town recognizing existing historic structures, and we need to replace some signs that are in poor condition. We've held off on replacements for the sake of coming to a consensus and having universally recognized names for these structures between us and the town. We ultimately work with the property owners in coming to an agreement on placing or updating the signs and their wording, and our goal is to be on the same page with the official town recognized names for these structures. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. That lines up our public comment. We'll move on to communications with council. Start with Ms. Bowden.
Let's see. First, I want to also applaud our special events team for all that you've done. I loved her comment. Thank you for all that you do and all of the hard work you put in. Chief, I don't know if you can get with Miss Kaylee, who I don't think is here anymore, and answer some of her concerns, if it's possible, if we have her phone number. And then I'll save the other ones for each agenda item. That's all I have.
I got one here. Is Patty here? Did she walk in while we were doing public comment? Okay. Just wanted to make sure I didn't ignore her. Mr. Hamilton?
My comment is, I'm so glad to see Lindy back at work. A pretty smile.
That's it. Mr. Wood?
It was mentioned a couple times, Chief. I just, again, want to congratulate you for the accreditation again. I know it's a strenuous process. For those who aren't familiar with it, it's a lot of work. And you reached a higher plateau than ever before. I believe the word meritus was what I heard and we read, and I congratulate you and your team for that. And also the young lady that spoke about the special needs children a while ago. It touches everybody's heart, and I want to just say again to staff, Stephen's team and Lindy and everyone, from all the things that we do as a community to bring people out of their gates and out of their comfort level, we really do a lot as a community to make people feel good about where they are. And I've just seen so many different things. Not the fireworks at New Riverside, the drones. I wish I'd have been there. I won't miss it next year after what I saw on social media and the reaction to it. And you had thousands of people there. So I commend staff for all the good deeds you do, and thank you.
Ms. Bridget?
No, I don't have anything.
Okay. I just want to thank everybody. I think everybody's doing a great job. A lot of opinions. Will never satisfy everyone's opinions. Believe me, I've been trying for 60-something years, and I'm not doing any better now than I was when I didn't care as much as I do now. So just keep working on it, trying to do the right thing, and again, I'm very proud to be a part of the team. Okay, up next we have workshop agenda items, and it's presentations and input on draft operation branding designs. Mr. Cease.
All right, good evening, Mayor and Council. I just want to say thank you all to those that spoke about the events. I can't speak enough for this team about what they do to put on the events for the town, and especially, as you heard Cheryl earlier, whenever they heard that there was a lacking space for an event, they filled it and continue to do so.
Just wanted to throw that in as well, since get my 2 cents in.
before they get rid of pennies completely. What I'm here for tonight is to talk about an operational brand for the town. I'm going to go into a little bit about what our current branding is, why you would want to have multiple ones, some options that we've worked to put together with a consultant and our PIO team, as well as an option for looking at trying to update our flag, and then some next steps and get some input from council so we can decide how we may want to move forward. So what's our current branding? So right now, this is it. We use our town seal for the majority of everything. It's used as our official town seal to seal any documents that council approves in our meetings. It's used as our town flag. It's used as our letterhead for all town correspondence, park signage, vehicles, on any clothing that is made that employees wear. It's used on all of our business cards for employees and council. It's also used for our branding logo for any other town operations and items. So if you put bike racks in or anything like that, the seal is what goes on everything. The Heart of the Low Country is our marketing logo. It is what you see whenever we do any kind of marketing. When we give funds for ATAX dollars, the recipients are required to use that brand. If we do giveaways, if anybody asks for our logo to put on anything, this is what we give out. It's also what's used for our chamber and by the local chamber and by the Hilton Head Bluffton Chamber for any kind of work that they do for the town. So again, if you see Bluffton Heart of the Low Country walking around, it doesn't identify whether it's a town or whether it's a private event or nonprofit event that received funding. It's really kind of our marketing logo that represents different events throughout the community. So why would you use multiple logos? One is we've talked about the city seal. It's really to represent official business of town council. It is y'all's brand. It is y'all's mark that you use whenever you adopt an ordinance or resolution. It is called a seal because that is what actually officially goes on the document in a full seal and with the raised stamp to certify that it's an official document and action taken by council. It's also associated with business of town council. I know when we've sent out letters before and when the seal is on there with all of council names, there's concerns that it may look like it's representing all of town council when it goes out. But every letter that we send from the town uses that. If we send a notice of a violation, if we send a thank you, if we send your tax bills due, any of that, it carries that same official seal of council on it. An operational logo is usually reserved only for the employees. It's how you identify the employees that are within the town, how you identify town property, how you identify town vehicles. It's also used for operational items like our business cards, like I said, vehicle decals, letterhead. Again, if you see the operational logo, it's usually how you can tell that only employees have access to that. And then the marketing logo is what most people would think of. It's what we use whenever we're advertising events, whenever we're working with the chamber, when we're advertising the town outside of the region, and that's where the Heart of the Low Country, that logo comes from. And then, like it says at the bottom, there's typically a brand use guide that identifies when each one's used, how it's used. Like right now, this is on the previous one, the seal goes in our letterhead, it's on our business cards, but we use the Heart of the Low Country on our email addresses. So again, it's just kind of a mixed bag right now. So some examples, and this is a little busy, but I wanted to just give you some examples that are out there. Like the top one is Greenville. So most people would never know what the Greenville seal looks like. When they think of Greenville and they think of the trucks, the town, the operations, I call it the Garthbrook G. They think of the G. It's up there, that city of Greenville. Whenever you look to the right, you see the truck, you see it on the safety vest of the employee. If you see anybody walking around that town with the G, you know that that's a Greenville employee, it's a Greenville truck. They represent the town as somebody who is an employee of that town or is responsible to that town. Then they also have a marketing brand. They have, that Greenville, which is what they've used for years now. And you can see on top it says Visit Greenville SC. That's their marketing brand that they use. In Columbia, they actually just went through rebranding. You can see, again, they're still on the left. Their new operational logo, how they've rolled it out on their trucks. You can't quite read that, but it says New Look, Same Great City. So they've rolled out that. So again, if you see that it's an employee or operations of the town. And then they have their marketing logo, which is Columbia, famously hot. They play into being about the hottest place in the state, next to probably Florence, that you can visit. And then when I was in Easley, we did ours as well. You can see the operational, you can see how it was used on some trail signs, and then the marketing logo was the one on the right, which is a warm-up country welcome. So we worked with a consultant to put together some options. They went through some design inspirations. So what you have here, is some of the things they use to represent the Low Country, represent Bluffton, the state. You can see our love letters to Bluffton that we put together for the Welcome Center, the heart of the Low Country, the sun rising or setting, depending on your opinion, on the May River over there to the right, oysters, and flowers, and so forth. So they took that to put together some options. The first one is this one. It's you can kind of read what it says there. It's symmetrical, versatile design built around a central sun. The surrounding shapes, they double as multiple things, but what they are to really represent is it looks like two oysters that are overlapped to represent a heart, to tie into the heart of the Low Country, as well as our love letters to Bluffton and so forth. It's also symmetrical, and I'm going to go through different things that you can see within it in a minute. And then they kind of put together, and we'll go through this for both of them, is just some different banners and how they would be used throughout different operations within the town. And you can see kind of a different color scheme with a dark background, light background, more of a stack background with the different color backgrounds. And then some of the hidden imagery, like I said, you can see the hearts that are within there. You can see, as they put next to that, like the oyster shapes with the pearl. You can color code and see the three rivers that border the town. You can actually make a letter B out of the hearts. You can see, sunset over the May River. You can look at it with the sun in the middle and then the rays coming out. So again, it's very symmetrical, but has lots of hidden meanings in it, including you can see the magnolia flower, which I referenced back in some of the design guidance that they took. We then asked them to show it kind of in operation, like what it may look like on a shirt, what it may look like on just notebooks or something like that, and then what it may look like on vehicles, and then some of the operational materials. So you can see like a town letterhead that would be separate from the one with the seal, new business cards, envelopes, etc. The one thing, and I didn't mention this at the beginning, is again, we're workshopping this, so as we go through, I'll pause and give council a chance when we kind of get through to get your feedback, to get your guidance, so we can go back, and if we need to make any edits, finalize anything, make sure that we go through and get that guidance from you. So they gave us a second option that's similar, but a little different, and that is they incorporate more of the rivers in the bottom and kind of bring in the heart that we talked about a minute ago. So it's a little similar, but a little different.
Stephen, go back to the previous, please.
I'm going to have them side by side at the end.
Okay, yeah, I was just trying to, okay, I got it.
Yeah, when we get to the end, I'll put them side by side so you can see them. So again, we're going to go through just kind of different color sets up with the light and dark, how it could look as a stack. And again, similar, talking about some of the symbolism within it, but adding in the rivers. But the rest of it is pretty similar to the previous one. Again, how it could be used. How it would look as potential as like a decal on a car. And then again, using it as operational items with letterhead, business cards, envelopes, etc. So, little side-by-side comparison. I got a few slides here just so you can see them side by side. This would be the horizontal side by side, kind of as the decals on vehicles. And then some of the operational items. So, I'll open that up to y'all if y'all have any comments or any suggestions.
We'll start
whether
with
you like,
questions,
dislike, hate,
Ms.
whatever.
Frazier.
Yeah, so I personally don't like either. I feel like, first one, I see where you're going with the heart, but I don't get the oyster concept of it. It looks too much of like, just like a water droplet and kind of whimsical. And the second one just looks like maybe like a seaside sunshine town. It could be anywhere. And I feel like if we're going for an operational logo, which I'm for, what you're doing, I think we should definitely have a marketing, operational, and our town seal. I would like to see a logo that's a little more representative of Bluffton as being like this eccentric place. Like this couldn't be a logo that could be branded on any city. It'd be nice to see something that you see it and it is a definition of Bluffton, even if the focus isn't a standalone logo. Maybe it, could be incorporated in the wording of Bluffton itself, whether you turn one of the letters into an oyster shell or turn one of the letters into a heart. I'd like to see more variations.
When you say that, you mean like just using the name Bluffton and then figuring out how to make it?
Yeah, like when you showed us Greenville, for instance, and it was the G. It seemed like that was a little more reflective of Greenville, not just in the color but the shape itself. Whereas here, the font of like Town of Bluffton is good and matches the branding of what we currently have. I'm just saying the logos, for me personally, don't really speak to Bluffton as being this great eccentric state of mind, best place to be in the low country.
Mr. Whitaker?
Stephen, would you go back to the slide that had the trucks from the other three municipalities? Yeah, so I'm not sure, and this is not very helpful to you. I'm not sure how I feel about either of the logos. I'd have to have more time to think about it. It's the first time seeing them. But the one thing I didn't like, and it's just one man's opinion, and others may disagree, but the way we used Bluffton in such bold, it's bold, it's block, and I like the city of Greenville, I like the city of Columbia, the motif they have with the lettering scheme that they're using more than I do the one that we have at the, just Bluffton that you're using for the logo. That's just me. As far as the two iconic things, I don't really have an opinion at this time.
Mr. Hamilton?
I'm glad to see the capital letter on the B. I didn't like the small letter from the start. Thank to Lisa Sulker. But I think the river does speak to Bluffton. I don't think the other stuff gives me any excitement. But if the river would show maybe a dolphin or a fish and waves, I think that might speak a little bit to what we think about the May River.
Sorry, you said dolphin fish or?
Dolphin or some type of fish.
Okay.
Yeah. Shark, whatever.
Shark.
Yeah. But I think bringing attention to the river makes sense. But I don't like the other arts figures that were shown.
Ms. Burton?
I agree that these are not my favorite, and I would love to see what other options there are. I honestly thought it was kind of a flower petal, but once you said heart and oyster, I kind of got it, but that wasn't my first. So I agree, go back, less whimsical. I like the idea of the river being included. I don't know if we could do some sort of, where did these come from? Was it a company?
It was a company we worked with. Yeah, and they came up, and we've contracted them. The goal is to get input from y'all and give them direction. This was kind of their first through. And then once we got, but again, we want to hear direction from y'all, items you like, didn't like, because if we just send 20 different items that they put together, we're going to get a variety of things. So we tried to work on a couple that were similar, and then bring those back, get guidance, and then figure out which way we needed to tweak, and then we can come back with additional options after that.
I wonder if a local artist or somebody could help and give ideas or open it up, just since they might get Bluffton a little bit more.
If you didn't tell me what these things were on this map, I wouldn't know what none of them were, other than the word Bluffton. Not knocking anything, but I don't see anything about Bluffton in my heart, and I've been here a long time. In these designs, I see that the blue could be taken as some kind of river. The others, I don't see no oysters in there. I don't know what they are. To me, just, looking at it. I would be much more inclined to find something that is us, so to speak, whether it's an oak tree with moss hanging out over the river, or like I said, a shark or a dolphin, or something that's kind of unique that when you come here you can see that. I don't know where I'd ever go around town and find these things at all. So, not being a smart butt, but I don't like it. I don't like this. And like Emily said, if we could, maybe find someone, a local artist or something, kind of like we did years ago when we did the seal. We hired, I think Kelly Graham was actually the one that did that back in, I don't know, a long time ago. He put that together, so that I love our seal. I think that's perfect. I would just much rather it be something that is us, because this could fit anywhere in the world. You know what I mean? If that's just my opinion.
Hey, Mayor, and I'm not pushing anybody at all, local at all. I just, Kelly Graham was also the creator of for the Historic Bluffton Arts and Seafood logo. So.
But do you feel the same way? Do you see Bluffton in those?
No, I said I couldn't force an opinion on this. I'd have to rethink it, and I made my comment. The only one that I just didn't like Bluffton block. That's just me. That's why I wanted to look at Greenville and the other ones. But I think we go back to the drawing board.
That's what I needed. All right.
We're unanimous.
Oh yeah, that was simple. All right, thank y'all.
All right, thank you, Stephen. Next, we have consideration and direction on a proposed amendments to the Town of Bluffton Municipal Code and Ordinance, Chapter 12, Environment, Article 6, Regulations and Requirements relating to the use of single-use plastic bags in the Town of Bluffton. And I don't see Ms. Heather, so I guess
Kevin's
You get the next best
I guess
thing.
we're going to get Mr.
She got stuck in New York.
Yes.
I believe she got stuck in New York. Her flight got canceled.
Yes. Great. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for this evening. We are here for a workshop, so the goal is just get some feedback from you at the very end of this. We're here for the plastic single-use ordinance, kind of where we are right now. This has been in front of you back in November. County staff came, gave a presentation on what the county was doing for reducing the amount of plastics that are in the county. So they passed amendments back in June of this year that will not take effect, and I'll go into greater detail here in a minute, until all municipalities within the county have adopted a substantially similar ordinance. The proposed amendments are to address the thick plastic bags that we currently have out there now, the styrofoam food service containers, as well as implement a by request only rules for plastic straws. So from a contextual standpoint, the county felt that this was definitely an environmental issue. You've had some public comment that came about that all these plastics, they get into the rivers, they get into the ocean, they get into the food that we then start to eat. So the goal is to reduce that amount of plastic and styrofoam that's in there. We're also working from a regional standpoint. This was presented to SoLoco. I can't remember which month it was, but recently. So the intent is that the ordinances that are passed by all municipalities in the county are similar, and that way they can be enforced across the board. So from a timeline standpoint, this came initially in front of you when we changed the requirements for single plastic bags. That's where that thicker bag requirement's now in place. You know, the goal is to reduce the number of plastic bags that are being used. Back in May of '24, Beaufort County Council asked their staff to start looking at ways to make improvements to this. They received a lot of community input. That was presented to you back in November by county staff, and I've got some of the information in here. As I stated, in June of this year, they passed the amendment, and obviously we're here this evening for the workshop and potentially moving forward. Back in November, if you remember, there was a lot of community input, both residential as well as businesses. Over 6,000 residents provided information as to what they felt like was appropriate. They did like the idea of banning the plastic bags, going to the like brown paper bags or bags with handles, reusable bags, removing the amount of styrofoam that's being used in businesses or restaurants to go to a more eco-friendly type of to-go containers. But they did not want to ban the straws or plastic silverware or utensils, but they felt that by request only. So they don't automatically put it out there for you, but you can ask for it. So from a distribution standpoint for both residential and support or the businesses, you can see residential. It was a third through north of the Broad, Bluffton, and Hilton Head. And then it was 2/3 for the business support for south of the Broad and north of the Broad. This is probably a best representation to show kind of what the county is looking to move forward with is, getting rid of these plastic, the thicker bags. If you go to Walmart, you'll notice it's a much thicker bag. And go to the either reusable bags or, the brown paper bags that you see now. The eco-friendly type of containers, and then just no longer having all those utensils sitting out there where you go and you just grab a handful of them, because if you're like me, you put them in a bag to have just in case you're out somewhere and you need a utensil. So the goal is to not just have it readily available for everyone. If this ordinance does move forward, obviously if anything, there's a implementation of enforcement and penalties. The goal is number one, the goal is always education. For us, it's always education. If it has to move forward, you'd get a written warning, and then possible violations, they increase as you move throughout if you keep getting these violations. And there's a potential where your business license could be suspended if you just outright ignore it. Timeline, again, as we stated, we have gone through all of the items here listed, except for the future date. So that February 8th, 2027, County Council, when they pass their ordinance, and it was provided in your packet, it states that the goal is from the 8th month time frame of passing the ordinance. It would give the municipalities an opportunity to pass a similar ordinance, and then once all municipalities were able to pass this ordinance, then it would go into effect. So if you read through the proposed changes to the ordinance, if at that time frame in February that they have not all passed a similar ordinance, that it would not go into effect until the last municipality passes a similar ordinance. So it's kind of a situation where if one of the municipalities does not pass an ordinance, then it does not go into effect until that happens. Now, what that means is that potentially the county might have to go back to the drawing board and rethink how they want to do moving forward. This evening, our request is to obviously get some feedback from you. We can do is work on drafting proposed amendments that are consistent. We would bring this in front of you with a first and second reading, similar to all ordinances that we have, with the potential of moving it forward. Depending on when you would go through this process, hypothetically, if we were to bring this back in September as a first reading, October as a second reading, it would not go into effect until February. similar to as long as all municipalities are doing the exact same thing. One of the things that we had reached out to some of the other municipalities, and you can see here Hilton Head, they anticipate bringing this in early 2027 for consideration. Potentially that's beyond that February timeframe that the county has, but this shows that they're still moving forward. Beaufort, City of Beaufort had already done their first reading, and then the town of Port Royal has not scheduled any dates of this action at this time. So we're not aware of how they plan on moving forward. So with that, does town council want to direct the town manager to proceed with drafting the amendments? If so, we can draft these and bring them back to you for a first and second reading, and then coordinate with all the other municipalities. If no, then this ordinance, in essence, is dead in the water. So happy to answer any questions you may have, and then open it up for discussion.
I got one question before we get started, and it's more of a legal question. Terry, if you don't mind. So, we all live in Beaufort County. If Beaufort County passes an ordinance such as this, we have a choice that we don't have to obey an ordinance that's passed by Beaufort County Council, or do we must abide by the same ordinance that we live under? I mean, we live in Beaufort County.
The way this county ordinance is drafted, unless all the towns agree to pass a substantially similar, whatever that might mean, ordinance, this ordinance will not go into effect in the county. The county had the option of making this ordinance applicable to the unincorporated county areas and letting the towns pass their own if they wanted to. But the way this ordinance has currently been passed, it does not go into effect before February, and the only way it will go into effect is if the remaining 3 towns pass a substantially similar ordinance. I'm not sure I answered your question clearly.
Not really.
It is, we have the right to pass our own ordinance, yes.
And Beaufort County could pass one, and we don't have to listen to it, even though we live in Beaufort County.
Depending on how they try to enforce it, that is correct, Your Honor.
So I think that's what he was asking is,
Okay.
if they wanted to, could they pass one that covered unincorporated and incorporated?
I do not believe they would have the right to force their ordinance upon our town.
Okay. Well, that's what I was trying to get to. Because, you know, some things like taxes, it don't matter if you live in Bluffton or if you live in unincorporated, and they say what the tax rate is, that's what you pay.
Correct.
So they have the power to tax us, but not tell us what to do with the banks. Yeah, just kind of.
Correct.
Questions? Okay, we'll open up. Ms. Burden, questions?
I had a few, but you had a wonderful presentation that answered them all. So I am in favor of it as presented and would be good with moving forward with creating an ordinance.
Thank you.
I'm always the oddball here, but
Yes, sir.
but I'm not sure that we have had enough of the business that's in the area to weigh in on this concept, because and it's like anything else that I've tried to be transparent with, if it's a sign ordinance or if it's everybody needs to be educated and have an opinion. And we have businesses that are going to be drastically impacted by this, so I'd like to know if they've been informed, if they agree, or disagree. I think that's important for me. So at this point, I'm at ground zero.
Mr. Wood.
I'm with Ms. Burden. This is the third time we've seen this presentation. The young lady that did it so loco did a fabulous job, and then, you know, we presented to here. And again, you've got on the screen that, you know, there's a poll of about 6,000 people. And I think, you know, the businesses across the spectrum, from my understanding, were somewhat represented as you have your geographic distribution over there. 2/3 were south of the Broad. But anyway, I support it. I think it's a good thing to do, and, and on top of that, one of the critical things that we tend to overlook is the landfill. I think you had on there, there's 6 years left, and that's a monumental thing that we're all going to have to deal with, because they're probably not going to find anything nearby, and certainly not in Beaufort County, and be lucky to find anything in Jasper County. They've even talked about going further out. So I think that helps that overall need to correct that problem.
Ms. Frazier.
Yes, so I have a few questions, Kevin. So I'm in favor of the ordinance as is, because we've discussed this for several years. But I remember when we initially talked about it, one of the suggestions that came up was, how do we come up with an incentive to businesses, particularly those in the food and beverage industry, who would be most impacted by this, as it's always going to be advantageous to do things in the benefit of the environment, but that comes at a cost. So as we are going to be pushing for an ordinance that potentially could financially impact said businesses, how do we work with those businesses as well? Because that would be a significant increase to them in transitioning from styrofoam containers or plastic cutlery to environmental friendly usage. While I'm all for encouraging that, I want to make sure we're prepared too for those who have or would have a very valid concern as to, if I'm going to do this, as believing in the environment and supporting the town, what type of incentives would I get in doing that? So I know we talked about possible ideas, like whether those businesses would show like a receipt of what they're doing, and it could be something like an offset of a portion of like hospitality taxes or whatever. I would like to see that we come up with something that when we prepare this for a draft, we also have something like that to present as well.
Thank you, Ms. Frazier. Okay. I want to do everything we can do, but I want to be fair to the people too, and I don't want big corporate entities such as Walmart, Sam's, and other large grocery stores to be able to do something that our local businesses cannot do. So if it's going to be across the board where you can't go into Sam's or Walmart or whatever and buy this packaging, that's fine with me. But I don't think that the small businesses in our community should have to go by this ordinance unless it's across the board for big, small, and all. I saw on here a minute ago on this slide that it said nonprofits are exempt. The business community are the ones that support the nonprofits. Just think of it. Where does the tax revenue that we give to nonprofits come from? So, what is the difference in a nonprofit and a for-profit business as far as when the environment is in play? I don't know if anybody has that answer, but I'm open for it for discussion. Could you go back and show it on there where it said that nonprofits were exempt? I saw it somewhere. I think it was Beaufort. Right. Might have been where Beaufort County approved something. Let's see. Not on here. I read it a while ago, so I know I'm not crazy.
You're not for this reason, but we're but there are some.
I read that.
Yeah, you did read it. It's in the attachment. Okay. There are multiple exemptions that are in there, like laundry, dry cleaners, bags that pharmacists use, other certain bags like bulk items, nuts, grains, candies, things like that. Prepackaged items.
And those are the things that we have to figure out, because I'm sitting here now, how do you put shrimp and ice in a brown paper bag?
Yeah.
By the time you get to your car,
that's going to be in the bottom of your Mercedes, and you're not going to come back.
Right.
You know, there are things like that that have to be understood, and I'm fine for moving us forward on it, but I'm not. I still have questions.
All right. And that's something what we can do is some research on for the non-for-profit aspect of it, because just thinking out loud that, you know, we talk about substantial, you know, similar ordinances, you know, is that going to be a substantial change?
Right.
So we'd have to do some.
I'm a little confused why each municipality has got to come up with theirs before the county comes up with theirs.
Yeah, so the county already, so the county's already, in essence, provided like theirs. So they already have theirs. And attachment 2, what you'll see, I'm sorry, attachment 1 to the staff report does show the red line version of that document. And this is very similar to what the town has, like just the existing text. It's just it's a slightly different format, but you know it's all the exact same information. So you know we would craft this to follow our format and our numbering. But what we can do is take all this information that you have, and again, this is a workshop. Right. So these are things that we can identify and make sure. Number one is it a substantial difference if we were to change, you know, and say like nonprofits are not exempt from that. You know, some of these other items.
I don't mean to be picking on them, but
absolutely,
I don't. You know, there's a lot of nonprofits, and that's a lot of styrofoam boxes. And
yeah, and we can look at from the incentive aspect of it, see if there's something that we could potentially do.
So Kevin, I think that was on the slide about what the city of Beaufort, that they raised the question about the exemption.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then
right here,
the
schools, churches, and other nonprofits from the ordinance.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So, that's a good question, Mayor.
That's just for the city of Beaufort.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. I don't remember the nonprofits
But
in the literature.
all of our ordinances have to be similar for the county to agree.
So, Mayor, that's what I was going to say, and this again goes. We've had conversation with legal on this, preparing for this, and and there's some concerns they have as well with the way it's written. Is should council adopt and want to change one thing that the county has in their ordinance? The question then becomes, is that substantially different enough that it means that not all municipalities have adopted it and it doesn't go into effect?
How do we get those answers?
So that would be, again, ultimately, I think that's a question that the county has to tell us based on the ordinance they adopted. If council wants to change anything, whether they consider that substantially different or not, and how that may affect whether it goes into place. And that's conversations we've had with legal, and there's also some questions about how things are worded in there, because it references that things that come from outside of the county don't necessarily have to meet this ordinance. So there's some questions on what that means and whether it's shipping or delivery. And so there's some things that as we go through, and if council wants to move forward and we start prepping the ordinance, we're going to have to get with legal and have questions raised to council, county legal counsel, on whether what we bring to y'all is going to satisfy the requirement that they've put in the ordinance that they've adopted. The way they've adopted it has made it really a little complicated on triggering it to go into place for all the entire county.
And who decides whether our ordinance is substantially similar, them or us? That's not answered either.
Yeah.
So,
But
excuse me, go ahead.
But you guys are asking us for direction, but we're asking y'all for direction because we don't know what
direction to go in.
So ultimately,
you know what I'm saying? I mean, how can we make intelligent decisions?
So ultimately, we're asking direction from council on
the field's not level.
Do you want to have us put together an ordinance that would be similar in nature to what the county has put in place? And if you have any questions or changes or concerns that you want to make, as we're preparing the ordinance to bring to you, we would have to get those questions answered, because we don't know exactly what questions are going to get triggered until we know what direction council wants to go, and if there's any, like the nonprofit exemption, if we want to make those changes, then how that's going to impact, and we can't get those questions answered until that point in time.
Well,
Maybe we need to make our own ordinance and don't worry about theirs and get something that we all agree to.
So, if I may?
That's an option.
So one recommendation, if you like, what we can do is we can start to move forward. We can draft the ordinance. We could bring it to you as a first reading and then pause from there and then get clarification working with the county before we would bring that back as a second reading to make sure, like, confide that, yes, this is consistent, yes, it meets the intent of what the county's looking for, as well as what you are looking for. So at least that first reading gives us a chance to say, this is what we want. You have determined that's what you want. Then we can work with the county. We can work on the incentive aspect of it, and then bring that back to you. And it might be, 2 months later, 3 months later, before we bring that second reading back, to be able to say, yes, this is it, or we had to then adjust something.
So,
Fred had his
go ahead.
first. Go ahead, Fred.
Through all of these presentations, and I've sat through several, even in So Local, none of them bring any awareness to the real perpetrators, like people that's littering. So it's almost like we're not fixing the problem, we're just putting a Band-Aid on it.
It's one small component. We're not going to be able to fix all of it. And you are correct. And I see people litter all the time. It's terrible.
And as far as timelines, Stephen, Kevin, I'm seeing on here where the town of Port Royal has not even scheduled any dates. I see where Hilton Head's talking about maybe next year.
Yeah, so this is not while, yes, this is a priority, this is not where we don't have to bring this back to you next month. It gives us a chance to put some information together. Again, we wanted to provide a workshop to get this information from you together, so we could continue to move forward.
Mayor.
Go ahead.
So, Stephen, Terry, I know you want more detail, but I don't understand why we can't ask the county now. What is a substantial difference that changes the ordinance? I mean, they can give us an example.
We can, but the first thing we wanted tonight was whether you even wanted to move forward with adopting it. And in bringing it to y'all for, as an ordinance to adopt. Because if we brought it tonight and 4 of you said, we're good with the ordinance that's in place, then we were done.
Yes.
But what we've heard tonight is that there's some desire to move forward. We need to get the questions from the county and get that answered, and now we can go forward and do that and bring that back.
And I want to say, too, I understand the county's logic, because, Mayor, you touched on this a minute ago. When we did the original bag ban, what we had was right down the street, the anchor stores, the Sam's and the Walmarts and the Target, weren't abiding by what our ordinance was at the time because they were in the county. And so it created conflict with a lot of our local, restaurants and places like that we're trying to tell them to do one thing, but the county was allowing them to do something entirely different. So I understand the logic of where the county's trying to get everybody on board this time, because it's not going to be a good ordinance if we don't universally accept it across the region. If it's just them, it won't be a good ordinance.
Just a question, Emily. So would this affect like your business, where people come in and buy something and it goes in a plastic bag?
Yes.
Well, yes, but I believe we use
So
paper
you would have
bags.
to use paper?
We already do.
You already do.
I
Yeah.
think all of our bags are paper. I'll check on that
Yeah,
tomorrow. But
I'm
yes,
not-
it would, it'd
yeah.
affect all businesses.
You don't really hear it mentioned, but yeah. All right, so y'all know where to go now?
Yes, sir, we sure do. Thank you
Any
very
more
much.
questions by council?
Any more comments or questions?
Thank you.
Okay. Up next, we have public hearing and final reading on the consideration to amend the Town of Bluffton's Municipal Code of Ordinances, Chapter 23, Unified Development and Ordinance, Article 5, Design Standards, Section 5.10, Stormwater, and Article 9, Definitions, Interpretation, Section 9.2, Defined Terms. Public hearing and final reading. This is, good morning. Oh, hey.
We need to call for a public hearing.
Yeah, so this is the first call for comments on this agenda item. Second call for public comment. Third call for public comment. This public comment is closed.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So as discussed at the June meeting, staff proposed amendments or text changes from the first reading of the ordinance. Specifically under Section 510 Stormwater, core permits to impact jurisdictional wetlands will require an accompanying approved jurisdictional determination. And then under Section 9.2, our defined terms, we've added additional language specifying who can provide a wetland delineation, and thanks to Mr. Finger pointing it out during first reading, the wetland delineation report shall be completed by an individual with professional knowledge or experience in identifying the boundaries of wetlands, including but not limited to professionals in the fields of environmental science, wetland biology, or ecology. These text changes are reflected in your packet for tonight's second and final reading. With that, I have a proposed motion for you all on your screen.
Ms. Fraser, any questions?
No.
Mr. Wood?
Just a comment. I'm grateful. We've talked about it a long time that we've implemented a best management practice to enforce, is what I read in here. We can hold them accountable. They have to do a report annually or what, every 3 years?
So I believe you're talking about post-construction for stormwater. This is for wetlands, but we do have an enforcement component that has been included actually as part of our interim wetland ordinance, what exists currently.
Good, thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Hamilton?
No, thank you. Good job.
Ms. Burton?
No questions. Thank you.
Well, is there someone that would like to make a motion?
Mayor, I'll make the motion. I move to approve the amendments to the Town of Bluffton's Municipal Code of Ordinance, Chapter 23, Unified Development Ordinance, Article 5, Design Standards, Section 510, Stormwater, and Article 9, Definitions and Interpretation, Section 9.2, Defined Terms as amended from first reading.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Bruce, you good on that?
I said aye.
Okay.
Up next, consideration of an ordinance for certain amendments to the municipal codes chapter Riverside.
23, Unified Development Ordinance. Article 3, Application Process, Section 3.18, Certificate of Appropriateness Historic District, and Section 3.19, Site Feature Historic District Permit related to relocation and demolition
of non-contributing resources in the Town of Bluffton's historic district. Mr. Beck.
Yes, sir. This as well as a public hearing.
Oh, yes, yeah. First call for public comment. Second call for public comment. Third call for public comment. Public comment is closed.
There are no changes from first reading. I do have a motion in front of you.
Love it.
Wow. Questions, comments from council? If not, is there a motion?
I'll move to approve the motion as presented on the screen.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's unanimous. Thank you all.
Great, thank you.
Okay, now we move on to formal agenda items. Consideration of a resolution to update the names on the contributing resources list to accurately reflect the names of the resources as defined by the National Park Service. Glenn Umberger. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight, the item before you is to accept the Town of Bluffton Contributing Resources Map with the amendments as proposed. I want to take this opportunity again, as always, to give you the definition of what a contributing resource is. This is any building, structure, site, object, or open space as designated by you, Town Council, that adds to the historic association's architectural qualities or archaeological values that relate to the documented significance of the Old Town Bluffton Historic District. Tonight, I've also highlighted historic associations because that ties into the historic naming nomenclature that I'm proposing tonight. When we talk about the list of contributing resources here in Bluffton, as you know, we don't have a list, we have a map. This is the current map that you last saw previously. The area that's highlighted in red are the list of the names as they currently stand. By way of background, when we did our recent survey of all historic properties in the Old Town Bluffton Historic District, we asked our consultants to provide us with identification of all those resources, which included historic names, common names, and street addresses. That's in the highlighted box on the right, on the actual survey sheet. The question you may be asking is why historic names? The National Park Service, which regulates the National Register of Historic Places, for example, gives guidance on the use of historic names. And they say the historic name continues to be meaningful regardless of the changes in ownership or use over time. So this becomes important for a situation where someone's new to town may not recognize a contributing resource by a common name or a historic name or a street address, and then things change and it gets a little bit confusing. But the historic name and its use of that name will always be meaningful regardless of what happens down the road. It also best reflects the property's historic importance, or that ties into the historic association of being a contributing resource. I want to give you a couple of examples of some of these proposed changes we're doing. I'm not going to take you through all 86 contributing resources. I don't have the time tonight, and I don't think you guys have the bandwidth for that. But the first example is Church of the Cross, as example number one. This represents a contributing resource that will not see a name change. Church of the Cross has been Church of the Cross since 1854, will continue to be so. It's listed as that. There will be no change proposed for this resource. And there are several of those in the packet that will not have any change in resource name. A change to a historic name is example two. This is currently known as the Fripp House, which is its common name. We're proposing to take it to the historic name, the James L. Pope House. It survived the burning of Bluffton as a Pope property, built for James Pope, likely was enslaved labor. So we're proposing taking it to the historic name, although the common name Fripp House can still be applied to it at any point in the future. For our purposes, we're just recommending the use of the historic name to capture that historic association. Example number three is the Sarah Riley Hooks Cottage. This is not the Sarah Riley Hooks Cottage that was designated as a contributing resource. That building was demolished. This is the new building. So in this case, we would be just changing the name to reflect that it's no longer a building that's significant, but it's the site. It does not remove it from the list of contributing resources. Only you can do that. But as it still, by definition, remains a contributing resource because it's a site. And we're just recommending a couple of these to be changed to the site of the contributing resource here in this case, the Sarah Riley Hooks Cottage. And the example number four, this contributing resource over on Boundary Street has previously been known by the street address. In some documents, it's referred to as 38 Boundary Street. Some documents, it's referred to as 38 Lawton Street. People like me get confused. So by taking it to the historic name or the people who actually built the property and lived in it the first time, the Haywards, the historic name would reflect those as the original owners, and that would become the historic name of the contributing resource. Though again, common name, if you still want to refer to it by the street address, that's perfectly acceptable. For timeline, we had the survey, which you guys accepted back in March. We had a staff review of all the data throughout the summer. We took it to the Historic Preservation Commission for a courtesy discussion item last week on August 5th, and then it stands before you tonight as to update and to accept the map. I'm happy to take any questions that you might have.
I'll open it up. Ms. Frazier?
Yeah, I do have a few questions, Glenn. So from the original list of the contributing structures that were submitted to SHPO, who did that original designation to where the names were listed as just street names and not actual designations like you're proposing tonight?
Some of the street names were added when the Old Town Bluffton Historic District was put together back in 2007, 2008, and that just became what was put on the list, and that's how it became on the list. We're trying to correct that because now we have some data that shows who the historic record is, just to make it cleaner, more understandable. So in future, if for some reason we decide to change Boundary Street to State Street, we're not losing that contributing resources name.
Got you. And my other remark is more so a concern. I understand some of the recommendations that are listed here in terms of the site changes. I am concerned about others that do bear historical significance, and many who know that significance may not be familiar with. Particularly, I saw the Bolly Bruin store, the recommendation of changing it. I can't remember the name, to like the Robert and I think Sarah Bruin House, what have you. I'm not in favor of making changes like that, just because historically those who know that particular site knew it as that because that was the name that was referenced during that time. So I think like there should be deference given to some that need to be changed, like the 40 Boundary Street that you mentioned, to change it to a name, or the John Pope, that's not the Fripp. I'm in favor of that, but other ones that should bear the historical significance of what they're known at, I personally am not in favor of changing those. So I would, I don't know how the rest of council feels, but I think like it's been at the review of the Historic Commission and whomever else, that we should have an opportunity to kind of look at some of those other ones that might be in question.
So we're not losing the common names. I mean, those common names are going to stay. Just for the purposes of the list, and again, it's the map, using the historic names, but in our data, in our survey, the common names, which we refer to, they're still there, and you can still refer to them as the common names for other purposes. This is just cleaning up the list.
I get that, but I also know that the common names and the names that are being proposed, all this right now that we're talking about is more so of a formality, like we're not being mandated to do any of it. I'm just saying, like, let's be cognizant of that, because often at times there are those who will take these formalities that we're using and will erect signs to do that. And I'm just saying that's going to be an issue for some who have a greater connection to the historical common name than us wanting to, you know, go to a formality for our purposes. I'm just saying let's be aware of that.
Sure.
Before we get Ms. Wood.
Try to clear the air here a little bit, because I think there's a little gray area here from what we were hearing from a couple of speakers earlier tonight and their request. Am I correct with this is just the registered names?
Yes.
The names of these structures can be called what they are, like I'll use the Hayward House for example. Instead of calling it what's on this list, the sign in front of the Hayward House will always remain to be the Hayward House, correct?
This does not affect any future
Has
signage.
nothing to do with the Bridget, and I'm trying to get this because I learned this earlier today. The signs that are put, you know, that we know or everyone that's involved, the signs can say just what they should say, the people that we know and what we know these structures as. It doesn't have to be the technical name that's on this list. Am I right?
You're correct.
Okay, so I don't know if that did any good or not. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I get that, Mayor. What I'm saying is I know that, for instance, like there could be a time where none of us are going to be here. And my concern is I don't want anyone who arrives on the scene after the fact to take that at face value and try to change that.
I agree totally. Yeah. Mr. Wood.
Yeah, I think two things can be true at the same time, and you just said that. Let's just take the James Pope House, for example, known as the Fripp House, right? To me, the person that, the original owner was James Pope, right? That's the historic name for me. Now, what we've come to know finally as the Fripp House, I'm fine with that too. I mean, again, you can have both.
That's right.
And even the signage that got put out there, the Historical Society put the signage out there. You could have both. You don't have to have one or the other. Same with the Hayward House. You could have the original owner's name, who, it was a 40-year gap before the Haywards moved in. You could have both names if you so chose. So it's like the Garvin Garvey House, I guess, is the best illustration to me, similar to what I just said. Say the Toomer family that's been here 100 years came and bought the Garvin Garvey House 40 years later, 50 years later. And then the generations of Toomers hypothetically have been here for God knows how long. It would still be the Garvin Garvey House, technically, to me, but people may start calling it the Toomer House. Right. So again, as long as we update our records, the map that you showed and all of the names listed and everything, as long as we update that, there's no reason that I can think of that, as you said, both can't apply. And even the nomenclature could be James Pope House on the official town map, known as the Fripp House. I mean,
And that's the difference between the historic name and the common name on the survey sheets. But for our purposes of the map, if we're consistent in using the historic name, at least the map is a consistent document for reflecting, historic name that won't change down the road.
And I do like the concept of not just giving a location, a name. Historic name, not 40 Boundary Street or whatever it may be. So that's all I have, Mayor.
Mr. Hamilton.
I think history is important. I think the research that you did to show that significance is also important. So if you're just trying to document history, and that can be in our archives, I think that gives a clear definition to who we are and who we was, and to Bridget's point, who we will be. So I like Mayor Salker presentation that she made tonight on a number of occasions that, if we're going to do it, make sure we do it right. Thank you.
First of all, I just want to say, I know how much, I know you've put a lot of work into this, and so good job. We do appreciate all of it because it is such an important thing. But given that this is so important to all of us in our town and the history, to me, it seems like more work needs to be done on this before we should vote on it. So I like Ms. Solka's idea of some sort of committee of representatives from town, Bluffton Historic Foundation and HPC getting together, going through the list of names and really cleaning it up, cleaning up the typos, and let's come up with a list that I think everybody can agree on and bring it back to us for a vote. And that's that is definitely my suggestion.
I'm fine with, we want it right. There's no question about that. And I'm still curious right now, and I know this is not our normal format, but I'm going to do it anyway. The names that can go on the signs for the structures, the current names, the names that we know all these structures have, is that good with y'all? I mean, is that what we were asking for?
No, I'm looking at this list here that was done by Glenn, and he has proposed John J. Cole House for the Hayward House.
Or the registered name. But that doesn't mean it changes on the sign.
It has today's name, the historic name, and then there's a column over here, proposed name, the signage. And under Hayward House, here's John J. Cole. That's why I'm here.
So I thought that was what the whole reason for us doing this, Ms. Joni, was to get the real names of the real people that built the real
Started the whole thing was those 8 or 9 contributing structures that are listed online with their address on them.
Right.
So we're getting ready to do signs, but we need a name for the sign.
Right.
So we wanted to be in sync with the town.
Right.
And that's where I presented to the town manager and Glenn and Heather, back in May of 2024. That's what started the whole thing.
Right. So the proper names should be what we know them as?
Well, we all know.
Should they be what they really were when they were built? Because families change, and I'll say
You
this.
turn this into a workshop.
I think this is all the more reason for them to have a sit-down with the three different groups to work through all of this.
They can have a list of common names for their signage apart from what y'all are discussing right now. So you all can adopt a list with the historic names. The common names are still there. There's still common names listed in the survey that they can take and make their signs. But for our purposes tonight, it's just the list or the map using historic names. They still match.
But Glenn, so let me ask, because again, I don't see it as a technical, maybe you as a historian would look differently. But going back to the Hayward House, I don't have my notes in front of me right here, but I agree with the historical name. I agree with that. But there's nothing that says, again, and we agreed on this a moment ago, in the column that you have the historic name. The historic name can be, it's town site. Historic name can be listed, but it could also be, in parentheses, known as the Hayward House.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, right? Doesn't that
Yeah.
take care of everybody? It's got the historical name and it's got a notation staying, just like the Fripp House. We all know what that is. Same thing. Put the historical name on the town register and a little parentheses out to the side, the Fripp House, known as the Fripp House.
Can that be done like that?
Sure.
That's the way it's done. That's the way he presented it.
No, the two names aren't on the list. The list that you're asking us to approve tonight has the technical name. It doesn't have two names. It doesn't have Hayward and John, whoever.
We could, for our purposes for the list, have dual columns, historic name with the common name. It just gets a little bit more cumbersome to use that as a document for identification purposes, but we can certainly do that.
Well, again, if you put the first name, you indicate that's the historical name. There's no doubt. Everybody gets that. Historians get that. And then the common name, everybody comes to Bluffton right now, it goes by the Hayward House. They know it as the Hayward House.
Right.
So, but again, I support what you're saying about putting the historical name in there.
Well, and I guess maybe what concerns some people, and I can see this, 20 years from now, when there's not anybody here that knows that that's the Hayward House, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you look on the register, the town's register, and then all of a sudden it becomes the house that it was 150 years ago. And the family that's owned it, just for example, the Hayward family, they disappear. You know, their history could disappear. You understand what I'm saying? So maybe that's what we need to do, is to put on these ones that we have two names, you know, would that solve? Would that make everybody happy? All I want to do is make everybody happy.
For me.
I think so too, and I think that's why we should table this and work out these details and not rush to get it done tonight. I will go ahead. I'll move that we table this agenda item until the list can be reviewed by staff, the Bluffton Historical Foundation, and the HPC committee to refine the list for presentation back to council.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So,
Thank you very much.
okay. Up next, we have the consent agenda. Is there any
one that would like to pull something off of here?
Yes, Mayor, please. Number 5 on the consent agenda.
Okay, that's number 5, consideration of ordinance to amend the Town of Bluffton Municipal Code ordinance with public property, article, public dock, boat landing rules to include da 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 da.
I'd like to. I thought it was number 4, Terry.
It is number 4, yes.
Number 4. I'd like to recuse myself from number 4 on the consent agenda.
You got that, Marcia? Okay, so we go ahead and approve the other ones?
Correct.
So is there a motion to approve the consent agenda excluding 5?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So, and Mr. Hamilton is recusing from 4. However we did that.
It's passed
Okay,
anyway.
Mr. Wood, you want to, Heather's not here, so who do we?
Well,
Do you want like to pull it to not talk about it, or you want to pull it to?
I want to talk about it. Thank you. And before you have to read anything,
Tell him what's on your mind, Dan.
that's what I'm trying to get to. Kevin, I don't.
We might know the answers.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I got
So anyway, the question in my mind is, I like what we've written. I think it's a safety issue, lots of things. Protecting the docks, I get all of that. There's nothing wrong with that. I guess my main question is, it's an ordinance. And I know that most ordinances have public readings. And so I understand that, again, the safety issues, I applaud mention of that. But we also have taken and written e-bikes in there and other electric motor operated devices. And we still haven't even had a discussion. We were going to do a workshop on that, and we haven't even as a council had the discussion to address all of those type devices. But yet that particular verbiage makes itself into this ordinance. And when you do research and you look, and I could have missed stuff, but when you look at the past changes to Article 2, they were presented as formal agenda items in July of 2024 and August of 2024, and some even prior to that. So I guess my question is, it's really, it may be legally permissible, but is it the same as procedurally appropriate? That's what that's my thing. I think it should come back as an ordinance. That's me.
We'll be more than glad to do that. You want it next month?
I'm good, but I'm at the blessing of council.
If y'all can get it ready, then.
I mean, we have it ready, so we can just put it on the formal agenda for next month. The other thing you could do is you could approve it. It's first reading tonight, and we can present it during the formal portion of the agenda for second reading next month.
Would that be good, Dan? So we could get it, I think one of the pushes here is to get this in effect so that when we open the linear trailer, that dock on New Riverside, we have to have that included.
Yeah, again, I'm at the mercy of council, which is fine. I personally think if we're going to do ordinances, they deserve 2 readings. And again, I'm hoping we get back to some point because
it does always have to have 2 readings, but you can do ordinances on consent if it's amending rules and stuff. But if, like I said, if you are, it's going to have to come back on next month's agenda anyway. So if it would be beneficial, like I said, to satisfy, you can always approve first reading tonight, and then we'll move it to formal for September and have a presentation and
I can live with that
and go through everything.
May I ask one question on this? This strictly has to do with the dock, not the actual linear trail. Is that?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and the other thing is the way we've adopted our park rules, they've been adopted by ordinance, so they have to be amended by ordinance. So that's why, and we do each one by each specific park. And he does mention e-bikes, and what's in here is really just to deal with issues we've seen currently happening on e-bikes, which is kids bringing them and riding them down the dock, riding them inside of pavilions, and just trying to limit that and not regulate e-bikes throughout the town, just how they're damaging the facilities that within the parks that we're currently using.
Keep in mind, I agree. The only point I was making was a technical one.
No, and
That's all I was doing.
Understand, yes.
Thank you.
We would need a motion to approve number 5 on the executive session. I mean, not the in the consent agenda.
Okay. You want to make that, Dan, or you want to?
Yeah, so move. I'll make the recommendation to adopt or support item 5 on the consent agenda.
Is that all we need to do? Do we have to vote on that or anything?
Has to be seconded and voted on.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right. Thank you. Up next, is there a motion to go in executive session? 4, discussions relating to authorizing the town manager to negotiate a contractual agreement between the town and affordable housing developer pursuant to South Carolina Freedom of Information Act 30-4-70A2.
So move.
Second. We are in executive session. We are out of executive session. No votes were taken, no decisions were made. Is there a motion to?
I move that we adjourn.
I second.
We are adjourned.
Y'all have a great night.
Thanks for watching Beaufort County TV.